I'm looking for something that doesn't exist. Now, the chances of finding something that doesn't exist are absolutely zero. Therefore, what I'm trying to do is totally irrational. Let me explain why I want you to know about this entire problem. What I'm looking for is an attorney. Well, there's millions of them. But who is legitimately concerned with the country and with making a fee that would be stratospheric by doing a good job, a truthful, honest, good job. Last night, I was watching C-SPAN, like I do. You see C-SPAN here? And Brian Lamb, who created C-SPAN, had an attorney who was a law professor at Stanford and wrote some book. And he interviewed her for an entire hour. And she went from one lie to the next. But let me explain one of the lies to you. She was talking about how there's a great need for attorneys who represent indigent people, and that they don't pay these attorneys hardly anything. So Brian Lamb, like, now this guy is the most well-read person in the world, and he's around all the top people, not just in America, but American politicians, reporters, businessmen, economists, you name it. And so lawyers, whatever, on C-SPAN. And so she says, he says, like, well, what do you mean? Like, they don't, they're just like, don't hardly pay them anything? And she's alluding to the, like, well, they get like a minimum wage. Minimum wage, what, $8 an hour? Okay. Does she not know? Of course she knows. She knows that these attorneys, the public defenders, the public pretenders, make $70 an hour, and then they make a different amount in court. Now, if they actually made $70 an hour and only spent 2 or 3 hours with a client, you do the math, $140, $210. But what if they put in a bill for 20 or 30 or 40 hours? As long as the defendants keep pleading guilty, they get paid. They're on the gravy train list to do no work, to send in huge bills claiming they worked tons of hours, did absolutely nothing, and then get paid. I mean, the money just comes right to them. Okay. So anyway, I need a lawyer who not only is legitimate, but is capable of understanding evidence. Now I'm going to use an example that's been in the news big time. The Tom Brady Deflategate. The ball that was supposedly under 12.5 PSI that they took into some bathroom and rigged the PSI in the bathroom because Tom Brady told these two guys that handled the balls to do that. He was the actual ringleader, the brains of the outfit. Okay, we went on and went into court. His owner, Robert Kraft, very wealthy man, who claimed he wasn't gonna capitulate. He capitulated. He went to Roger Goodell and said, "Here's $1 million," which is like a dime to me. For him, $1 million is nothing. So like a dime for me. Here's a dime, Roger. Here's $1 million, Roger. And by the way, I'm going to cooperate with the 4-game suspension on Tom Brady because of these balls. Now let's compare this case that was reviewed over and over and over again, day in and day out, for months on end. It just basically came to an end the other day. And that's, what are we in? September? And that's since before the Super Bowl. Before the Super Bowl. So it's well over 9, 10, 11 months, something like that. Constantly, okay? Compare that to 9/11. Compare that to, well, if I want to call, if somebody wants to call C-SPAN, for instance, C-SPAN is supposedly the absolute honest information. Well, they'll cut them off. If just happened 2 days ago, some guy called in and he said something about Building 7, blah, 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 wham, cut him off. Okay, next caller. We don't want to hear anything about Building 7 that collapsed at 5:20, nothing hit it, and it just went boom, down she came. But Dan Rather, the famous CBS reporter, was watching it, and there's a YouTube. If you Google Dan Rather Building 7, you can watch this report from Dan Rather that goes on for just under 3 minutes, and he never says it again. He's talking about, wow, this building, it just came crashing down. It's incredible. It looks like controlled demolition, but I'm never going to report this again. He doesn't say that, but that's what happens. And all these other reporters that were there, and he wasn't there by himself at the World Trade Center at 5:20 in the afternoon. You know, there's a whole bunch of reporters there, and none of them reported this collapse. So now, did anybody besides me come to the conclusion that this can't just be a coincidence, that each reporter all on its own, and each news company all on its own, decided to never report the Building 7 collapse, that nothing hit. Nothing hit it. And boom, down she came. Now, could there possibly anything be there but explosives? The controlled demolition? To bring the building down? Of course not. So well, wait a minute, how about all the lawyers that are watching this stuff, like me, right? That they don't come to this conclusion, and they're like, wait a minute, here's this football problem, 12.5 psi, that the media just reports over and over and over for 9, 10 months. And here's this building that crashed at the World Trade Center. Nothing hit it. And nobody reports it at all since 9/11. Now, there's news on it, not from the media, by the way, but people are talking about it. I mean, it finally dawned on some people. What happened here? There's something fishy going on. But we don't know what it is. But we're going to study and figure out whether Tom Brady destroyed his phone because it had evidence that would find him guilty of being involved in explaining and telling these two guys to take the balls into the bathroom where nobody could see them and make the balls softer. Okay, so I have a case. I'm trying to find an attorney, and this is one of the reasons I'm making this video. I could just send it to the damn attorneys and let them watch it and see if they want to take the case. But here, I mean, I'm going to make this very quick and simple. I did not send any emails to Pastor Charles Stallworth or anybody at the East End Baptist Tabernacle in Bridgeport, Connecticut, period. Now, I know that. I know I didn't send any emails. And by the way, so does Pastor Stallworth know it. And these other people involved in having me arrested for emails that either Pastor Stallworth created himself or he told one of these people at his church to write these emails. I don't know how many, they won't even give them to me, okay? The court ruled that the prosecutor has to give them to me under the law, under Connecticut law, but the prosecutor refuses to give them to me. Okay, so it's the case about the 3 weeks that took me to get a bondsman to come and get me out on that $20,000 bond. The 3 weeks, is that my damages? Or is my damages the fact that, wait a minute, I didn't do a crime. The cops know I didn't do a crime, and now this freaking phone is ringing.